Welcome back to Daily Connections. Margaret Graf Garrises stayed with us. She is here from the Institute of Reproductive Medicine and Science at St. Barnabas. She'll share more information on fertility options when trying to conceive. Hello again.
Good morning. Hello.
So let's go into some of the treatment options.
Okay. Probably the easiest and most common and one of the most satisfying treatment areas of infertility is when the wife doesn't have regular menstrual cycles. And there are very effective medications to help her ovulate. There is a pill called Clomid, clomiphene citrate, that in women who don't get periods at all has about an 80% ovulation rate.
Wow.
But about a 15% pregnancy rate per cycle, again, if the wife is less than 35.
Okay.
If a woman doesn't ovulate or get pregnant on Clomid, then they have to move on to stronger, more serious infertility medications, which have a higher pregnancy rate, maybe closer to 20%, but they're much more expensive.
Okay.
And the main side effect, besides the expense of the stronger medications, you might be getting a higher pregnancy rate, but there's a 20% multiple birth rate, twins, and even occasionally something more than twins.
Wow. So even if, just to back up a second, on that 15%, is that normal to be on that for a year's time? What's the amount of time?
Generally, if you're not pregnant in 3 to 6 cycles of Clomid, you should be,
okay.
and again, general gynecologists are comfortable with Clomid because it's a pill. You're not going to get into trouble with the triplets or quadruplets with Clomid.
Okay.
But you really shouldn't be on it for more than 3 to 6 cycles. If you have a gynecologist that you're on it for a year or two, you should be running to an infertility specialist, and especially looking at other factors, that I'm assuming that the sperm has been checked and that an x-ray has been done to make sure that the wife's tubes are open, because no amount of Clomid or stronger fertility medications are going to get you pregnant if you're ovulating if your husband's got a sperm factor or your tubes are blocked.
Right.
So that's predicated on the assumption that the other testing of other fertility factors has been done.
Already been done.
As far as sperm factor infertility, often the wife takes fertility medications to get more eggs, more targets for the sperm to get to. We'll do artificial insemination on the wife with the husband's sperm.
Oh.
And if these treatments aren't effective, often that means moving on to in vitro fertilization, test tube babies, which again is also the ultimate treatment when a woman's tubes have been taken out or they're blocked. In vitro fertilization is the most costly of the infertility treatments, but it does have the highest pregnancy rates. On average at St. Barnabas, about 40% when you say from age 25 to 45. But again, the younger women, it could be 50 to 60%.
Wow.
The older women, it's going to be in the 30% or less because of the higher miscarriage rate in older women.
Because of?
Because of chromosomal problems in older women's eggs. So sort of the double whammy of older women is not only do you have fewer eggs when you're over 35, but what you have left isn't as healthy as the eggs you have in your 20s in terms of birth defects in children. So that even if I can get a 41-year-old pregnant, there's a more than 50% chance that she'll miscarry because there's something wrong with the egg in the fetus.
Really?
So that's why, that's the other part of the biologic clock is, yes, you're still getting a period every 28 days when you're 45, but the problem is that egg that you're releasing every month is basically not healthy enough to get a whole 9 months with a healthy baby.
So that age really deteriorates as I get older?
Rapidly, and which is why an obstetrician will recommend to a woman who conceives after 35 to get an amniocentesis to see that the fetus is growing healthily and normally and that it doesn't have a chromosomal problem.
So the key is to really the age. The age is really my critical factor in my women.
Right.
You've got to start early.
Exactly. And if you get up to the high level treatments like in vitro fertilization, it becomes more than your rapport with your physician is knowing the success rates at the laboratory that you're going to. That's published now on the CDC website in Atlanta. We have to report our pregnancy rates and our multiple birth rates.
That's really good to know. Now, on that lab issue, how much does all this cost?
The average IVF cycle is probably in the range of $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
Luckily, I practice here in the state of New Jersey, and New Jersey is a mandated state for health coverage of infertility testing and treatments, including IVF. So New Jersey residents and many other states in the United States, Massachusetts was one of the first, but there are about 10 to 12 states in the United States that require health insurance carriers to cover testing and treatment and even IVF. And
I had no idea of this.
The insurance, there's variability. Some will pay for 80% of 5 IVF cycles. Some will pay for 3 cycles. That there's variability in what the coverages are. But that's a great benefit, especially to people in states where infertility and reproductive health is considered as important as your cardiac health or any other health. So there's not a great reason that people should not be seeking treatment. Cost is not a reason, especially in this state.
That's really good to know. So that's really encouraging and motivating. So now we need to really start doing some research as to what states are starting to carry this with the insurances. That's really a promising thing, because I know you know, the thought of the expense is huge. And now if insurance companies are kicking in with that's a huge door that's being opened for other people that may have not been opened before. That's really good to know. Any final thoughts on this? What do you want to stress mostly in this topic?
I know I sort of feel badly hammering people over the head, because it's sort of one of my pet areas, but I have to say that women shouldn't take their biologic clock for granted. That, you know, my generation certainly is living more healthy than my mother in terms of not smoking or keeping the weight off or exercising, but your ovaries still get old. You could be 34, you could be 44 and look like you're 34, but your eggs are still 44. And so don't forget to look at your whole life and be a balanced person. And I would say, you know, keeping age in the forefront and making having a family a priority if that's what you want in your life, not forgetting about that.
Critical information. Thank you so much for sharing that information.
You're very welcome.
Get out there, everybody.